Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had a little bit of a tough round with the Anaheim Ducks in the conference finals, and unfortunately we lost to them. But this was a little bit more of a cheesy effort than it actually might dictate. Now, it did go to 7 games, but there was a little bit of a controversial goal that the Ducks scored, which went through the glove of our goaltender and in, and we ended up losing that last game 5-4. Now, it was a back and forth series the entire 7 games. You could see game 1, we won 5-1, so good offense, good defense. We then lost game 2, 6-3, so in that game, not great defense, not great offensively either, like kind of average offense, I would say. Then we lost our 1 5-2, so back and forth pretty much in terms of good games and bad games. This game was an important game, obviously, because if we won this game, we would have been up 3-1. The Ducks barely able to win this one in overtime and give them a tie series with us. Then they were able to take their first lead of the series 6-4, and at that point I was thinking we might lose in 6 games. Well, we then responded with a 3-1 victory. So a lot of back and forth type of games, good offenses in some games, not so much in other games, some good defense in some games, some in other ones as well. But game 7, this game, like I said, it was a very interesting one. We basically jumped in at a 3-3 game, and we were watching like the last 5 minutes. We think this game is potentially going to overtime at that point. Early into it, like the first 2 shots of the game that we watch, basically the Ducks score on 2 of them. The first one was one through the glove of our goaltender, make it 4-3. Then they score a rebound goal right afterwards to make it 5-3. And at that point, we're like, this game's probably over at that point. Well, we were able to score on our next shot, basically, and make it 5-4 from Stowitz. However, we were not able to tie the game up. So basically, because of a glitch goal, we ended up losing the series, and unfortunately, we're out in the conference finals. The Ducks went on to win the Stanley Cup. So it does suck, but obviously it kind of makes sense that the Ducks would be the team that beats us, because obviously they were a very dominant team during the regular season, but we were that close to going to another Stanley Cup Finals for the second consecutive year, and it's very unfortunate that we weren't able to get there. However, obviously we will still have a good team going into next season, I think, so I'm excited to see if this team could get back into the finals again next year. But we are probably going to have some players that we lose this offseason, but at least the main core guys like Ristolainen, Kohler, Stobitz, and a lot of other guys will be back here again next year. But there will probably be a couple faces that end up leaving the team, unfortunately. But I do think we still should have a pretty solid team. And I'm hoping that, obviously, like I said, we could get back to that finals or go to at least another conference finals again. But a lot of our guys on our team are starting to get up there in age. We're into probably the last 10 seasons or so of this. So we don't have a lot of time to win another Stanley Cup, but we might as well at least keep trying until we can't no more. But anyways, before we get into, once again, another offseason and trying to basically maintain our roster and pick up some younger pieces to obviously intertwine into our lineup down the road, let's get in your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, horrible way to lose, puck through the glove, get a few more pieces and make another run as you still have the players. And yeah, that's basically my thought process as well. We have the players, we definitely could go back for another one. The thing that I'm a little bit worried about is obviously the cap space situation. Like, I don't know if we're going to have to let go of certain people. Like, we have 3 defensemen that are all pending UFAs, so some of them probably won't come back, some of them will. But our defensive core might take a little bit of a hit this offseason just because of the salary cap. But from the offensive perspective, we have a lot of guys under contract. A lot of guys are still RFAs, well, at least 3 are. So we should be able to mostly bring back everybody we want on that forward side of things, which means we definitely still have a chance to win another Stanley Cup. The next comment is from Andy, who says, EA Voodoo strikes again. And yeah, pretty much that's the case, that puck through the glove. Definitely didn't expect it to be through the glove until we went back through the replay and I saw that it literally went through the glove. So if EA had better collision detection in terms of games and stuff like that, that puck would have just stayed in the glove and we would have probably went to overtime, and who knows what would have happened in that case. But just a couple programming errors in EA's game, and we would have actually maybe had a chance to win the Stanley Cup this year if we would have got to the finals. And the last and final comment is from Sarataku, says, not the desired result, but a very successful season by any standard. Tommy Shipley was the goalie who retired. From now until the end of the series, you should go through that list a little bit more thoroughly, since a lot of the players from the first few years of this franchise will likely be going. Try to re-sign Tulipov, but not Capaduca or Hurd. Hennessy could probably walk too, since you already have enough top 6 talent. the guys you pinned for the draft look solid. So yeah, we definitely should look through the draft, the retirement class, not the draft class, the retirement class a little bit more in depth, just because these early stage guys, like I'm trying to remember who. For instance, I feel like we haven't let go of that much players, but there will be some guys, obviously, that we have let go of that are going to be in their 30s. Like Stubwitz was in the first year draft, so you have to think about that. There's going to be players from that same draft that we got Stubwitz in retiring in the first or in these next few years. So definitely got to keep an eye out on the retirement page and see if any former players retire when we get to those type of areas. But he was saying about not bringing back people like Hennessy. Well, Hennessy's at least an RFA, so I probably will still hold on to him just because he's got that RFA status. But he is saying about letting go of Capaduca or Horde, but trying to bring back Tulipov. So those are probably the moves we're going to be doing, is definitely not bringing back Capaduca at this point. He is a decent player, but we do have the depth we could easily replace him with. He has been a good player, but he wants like $6.9 million, so a little bit too much for Jesus, for my opinion. And then also Hurd was asking for a little bit too much, so even though he's only 25, we probably will end up prioritizing Tulipov on the defensive side of things, just because obviously he's the better defenseman. And then Lee could almost come right back into our lineup in a sense and replace Hurd in that way. So I think that's okay to let go of Hurd. It does suck that he's only 25 and going to free agency, but I think it might be for the best option. We also do have a lot of defensemen in the system, so it's not a huge issue if we do end up losing a defenseman this year. So hopefully we could bring back at least Tulipov, so that way we have another solid defenseman on our team in front of our goaltenders. So with that said, I think we're almost ready to get into the draft. I will show you guys what this draft is looking like again, just in case you forgot. But we have a lot of players that we pinned, and Sarantaku says that they're all pretty decent. I still don't really know exactly what I'm going to go with our first selection, but we did pin like an elite goaltender, for instance, likely. There's some top 6 forwards that look decent as well. There's this low elite offensive defenseman that's supposed to go late in the draft. We're obviously going to take him because low elite offensive defenseman sounds right up my alley. There's also guys like Hansen who could be low elite. You have Doughty who probably is a low elite just because it says he's a 2-bar low franchise. I don't think he's actually a low franchise. There's Dunham who's a medium elite right winger. So there is a lot of solid players potentially in this draft that we could get, which is great. So we will definitely do our best to try and get at least a couple of them into our roster. I don't think we'll get them all in, but I mean, there is a lot of guys listed as gems. Literally 5 of these players are gems. So that's pretty damn impressive for this draft class. We're definitely not going to be able to get this Avery guy because he's going 3rd overall, but we could definitely get a couple of the other ones. So without further ado, let's get into this draft, and then we'll get into the re-sign stage and hopefully maintain our roster. And then hopefully we can get to next season and have a decent lineup again. Hopefully we don't lose too much players this offseason. So anyways, we might as well take a look at the top 5 of this year's draft, which is all in the Pacific Division, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of insane. San Jose, Vegas, LA, Edmonton, and Calgary. And obviously we're not drafting until 31st, so I'm hoping that we can get a decent steal there. Obviously, it's not going to be guaranteed that we get a steal at 31, but if we could find somebody decent for that positioning, that would be nice. Because obviously, we're going to start losing more and more players every single season as we get near the end. And also because we have a lot of guys tied up on big money, but we definitely got to find some young prospects that could potentially make this series before the end of it. Alright, so let's see what the San Jose Sharks take with the first overall selection. They are going to select that franchise guy, not a surprise, in, what's his first name again? Gene. Good old Gene Bochenski. Left wing, right wing, franchise sniper. That's actually pretty nice. The fact that this guy can play left wing and right wing is very useful for the Sharks. He's a left-handed shot, so if they use him as a right winger, this guy is going to be like getting a lot of one-timers off. Like, this is a very solid player for the Sharks to bring in. I don't know if they're going to finish in the bottom of the league as the rest of the series goes on, because this is probably one of the better franchise guys we've seen, just because of the fact that he could play both wings. I think that makes him a lot more of a threat, because if he could only play one side, it would kind of suck, but the fact that he could play 2 sides makes it a lot better. Anyways, let's see what Vegas selects at number 2. They are going to select Lack. What's your first name? Lack? Robert Lack. What does he lack in? Let's see. What does he lack in? Not really much, to be honest. He's pretty much an all-around good player. Really good skating, solid physical, not great physical, obviously, because he's more of a skilled guy, but still looks like he could definitely be a solid number 2 option. So there you go. LA at number 3 is going to select Avery, so it's kind of funny to see an Avery going to LA because I just always think of Sean Avery as a king. Well, there goes Rob Avery. He has a lot more X factors. He is a playmaker, looks pretty balanced. He's a right winger, but also could take faceoffs, so they could potentially use him as a center, I guess. But he definitely should have center as a secondary position if he has that good of a faceoff attribute, so in my opinion. Edmonton at 4 is going to select Chi-Chu. What if this guy's going to score 50 goals in 2006? Or I guess in this stage it would be 2046, right? He's a playmaker, so never mind, he won't do that. But Cadman Chi-Chu. That's a weird way of spelling Cadman. Interesting, okay. Our next selection is Calgary at 5, and that's going to be Paré. Francois Paré, who's a playmaker as well. So there's your top 5 of the draft. That's actually a pretty solid top 5 when you look at the overalls of these guys. Like, all of them could be, in my opinion, a first overall selection in a draft class. Maybe not Chi-Chu, but Paré being an 81, Avery being an 82, Lack an 81. Like, it definitely seems like a strong draft class so far at this point in time. It's probably going to drop off out of nowhere, but let's assimilate to our next pick at number 31 and see if we can find one of those steals at this selection. So let's just call it timeout for fun. I don't want to go find trade because obviously we ain't making trades in the series still. But let's just call it timeout and see what went before our selection here at 31. So Kurtz is medium 6, Thorne, there's Gustafsson. Pretty much a basic, looks like back half of his first round. No crazy steals here early on. Wonder if we could be the first one to find a crazy steal. There's an 80 overall going 14th. That's a pretty good steal for the Bruins. In, what's his name? Ashton Brooks. 80 overall two-way defenseman. Yeah, that's a pretty good pick for 14th. To be that high in overall. Especially when there's like 67 overall top 6 forwards going. So that's a good steal. Definitely could have got a lot higher. This guy even has a pretty good steal at number 10, Wanvig. 79 overall. Already listed as a third-line checking forward, too. So, yeah, there is some steals here early on. There's also another one here in Landon Gordon, who's an 80 overall. So this guy could have even been a top 5 selection, but he goes 9th to the Canes. Interesting. Visnovsky, 66. Merrick, 77. Yeah, it looks like a pretty good draft so far. Okay. Now, the question is, can we find any crazy steals? There's also Cavallo, who's an elite goalie, but I don't even know if it's worth taking an elite goalie this late into the franchise mode. Because we have like maybe 10 years left, so we'd only get like 5 years out of one of these guys at best. In terms of guys that are actually supposed to go around this point, there is still that goalie in Sawchek who is a gem. So he's probably the best goalie prospect to take if we are to take one. There's also Reefers, who's a top 6 forward. Looks okay. Looks like probably a 65 plus, like a standard top 6 forward. Right wing playmaker. We do need more right wingers, hypothetically. There's also Jaskalainen. He's definitely worse, I would say. So I think if I was to select one, it would be Reefers over Jaskalainen. You know, Jaskalainen's probably the better goal scorer. Aside from that, nobody else is supposed to go really in the first round. Is there anybody that's supposed to go second round that's interesting? Not really. Yeah, there's nobody else after this point that's interesting till like quite late, so I might have to just select the better of the two. Like, we could definitely get Hansen next round if we want to as a potential low lead option. There's those other guys as well that are supposed to go later, like this two-way forward in Dunham. So I think we're going to go with probably the first guy that was there, which, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, was Reefers. I could go for the elite goalie, but is it a good time to go for an elite goaltender? Or is it not great? Like, how many years out is he? Is he 5 as well? He is. Trying to think if it's worth taking a goalie at this stage of this franchise mode. It probably could be worth it because, Harakala could leave. We do have already some goalie prospects, though, I think. Let me actually take a look at our roster here for a second. If we go offer trade, let's just take a look at our goalie prospects in the system. Since we have time, since I took a timeout anyways. So, obviously, actually, we don't probably need one because Malkin's probably getting close here. We have Gianta. Harakala is only locked up for another season or two. Mathers is 76 and also has elite potential. Yeah, I don't think we really need a goaltender, to be honest. So I think I'm probably going to stick with that top 6 forward. Even though technically the elite goalie would be nice, I just don't think we need goalies that much. Considering we have Giunta locked up for most of the rest of this franchise mode, so I think we're going to go with Reefers, considering he looks like he's going to be better than Jaskalainen. Like, Jaskalainen definitely is probably going to be a better shooter and goal scorer, but Reefers is interesting because he's a playmaker. We don't have a lot of playmakers on the wing, so let's go with Lucas Reefers. He's going to be our first round selection, so welcome aboard. Probably guaranteed. Yep, 66 top 6. That's pretty much exactly where I was expecting him to be. Just because whenever they seem to have like at least 3 B categories, they're like 65 to like 68 sometimes, maybe 69 at best. But yeah, that's not a bad selection. That's pretty much like the safe pick to take, I guess, at this point in time. Yeah, not too bad. No real crazy weaknesses other than, I guess, his physical and maybe his defense, but obviously he could work on them. He might not make the NHL too before this end of the series. He probably could, but obviously it's going to take a little bit of work because I feel like late round top 6 forwards are sometimes a little bit of a crapshoot at times. So I don't mind the selection, but I'm obviously not too sure if he's going to pan out or what. All right, let's move to our next pick and see if there's anything interesting that went before this next selection here. Hopefully not. Some low 4s and low 6s, which are crapshoots for the most part. There's a medium elite goalie in Brouwer, 51 overall, so a little bit of a low overall for that guy. But obviously not looking into goalies too much. There's Haskins, the top 6. Medium starter and Lavin, 60 overall. That's not too bad for Josiah Lavin. All right. Some more medium 6s. Trying to see if we can see any steals here. If my brain will focus. Sawcheck, 54 overall medium elite, so this was the gem. He's probably going to end up being pretty good. He goes to the same team as that franchise player, so San Jose might be good before the end of this franchise mode. You never know with how their draft is going so far. And then there's Bruillard, who is the other elite goaltender. All right. Did anything interesting go after our last pick in the first round? Let's see. Wyden's top 6. Cavallo, medium elite as well, 59 overall. All right. So nothing crazy, just some elite goalies that I don't really need. So with this next selection here, we are going to probably go a little bit off the board just because these guys are all supposed to go this round. We're probably going to take somebody that's supposed to go in round 3 just based on what we have pinned. We're probably going to go for Hansen because he's a gem. Because we probably could get somebody like these other guys in other rounds. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for Hansen here. Next round, I could go for Dunham, that franchise guy. Yeah, or not franchise guy, elite guy. I wish he was franchise. And then the round afterwards, maybe I would actually have to choose between him and Stillman. I probably would go with Dunham, though. But regardless, those guys I can make a decision on for next round. Maybe I could get both of them somehow. We'll see. And then Doughty and Lawson will probably be like round 6 and round 7. Or round 5 and 6, something like that. But I think I could get a majority of these guys available. So I think we're going to go with Jürgen Hansen with this next selection. Gives us a bit more center depth. And I think he should be a low elite just because he's a gem. He's probably not going to be a low 6 if he's a gem. So Jürgen Hansen, who is a German playing in Sweden, which is also pretty cool. We've drafted 2 Germans in this draft, so that's also nice. Welcome over to Jürgen. He's a low 6? Are you kidding me? Oh, man. Since he was listed as a gem, I thought he'd be guaranteed low elite. But since he's a low 6 gem, does that give him a better chance to grow? I'm curious on that, because I don't think I've seen a low 6 listed as a gem before. I feel like it's always been a low elite. Like, this guy has some good attributes as well. He is a two-way forward, so. But he's got, like, solid shooting right now. So maybe this guy can outgrow his potential. Maybe he could become similar to Narena, who's a low 4 defenseman, but has developed into a top 4. I don't really know, but that's not as good as I was hoping for with Jürgen Hansen, but I will still take it since he was a gem. So, I mean, we made probably the right call, but at the same time could be a bad selection. But I think I'd probably take the low 6 over a medium 9 right now, but I'm not too sure. All right, let's simulate to our next pick at 97. See if there was anything that crazy that went before our selection here. A lot of medium 9s, which is not too interesting to me. Medium 9, medium 9. Any low elites, though? Any low elites? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, this draft class has definitely dropped off since the first round. So, yeah, no crazy steals in this third round up to this point in time. All right, so we do have more people pinned, I think. Yes, we do. So we're at 97. I probably can get both these guys, actually, now that I think of it. Yeah, I should be able to get Dunham. Stillman's kind of up in the air if I could get him or not. But I think we're going to have to go with Dunham with this next selection since he's a guaranteed medium elite. He is 19, but I think it's better than obviously taking a chance that Stillman's a elite player. So we're going to go with Dunham. Next round, we might get Stillman. If we don't get Stillman, maybe we already go with Doughty, and then we go with Lawson, and then 7th round's a crapshoot. So let's go with Eugene Dunham since he's guaranteed medium elite. And he's a 71? Holy crap. Okay, that was not what I was expecting in the slightest. How was he a 71? He did not look like a 71. God damn. So that's a really good steal for the 3rd round. Like, when I saw that he was medium elite, I was thinking 56, 60 overall at best. But since he's 19, he has that little bit of extra growth to him. And yeah, that's very, very solid. Like, this guy could easily make it before the end of franchise mode. Maybe even in a season. He could be like a replacement almost for Hennessy if we end up losing Hennessy at some point. So Eugene on Dunham is a pretty good pick. Pretty nice little safe pick with that one. I like that a lot. Damn, I was not expecting 71. 71's way better than anticipated. Okay, let's simulate to our next pick at 130, which, did that other guy go around, or supposed to go around 130? I can't remember when he's supposed to go. Stillman's supposed to go at 135, so we might be able to get Stillman as well. And he could be a little elite, so we're going to probably have one of our better drafts here near the end. The low 6 is still a bit of a crapshoot, but I think he's still a decent pick considered it was a gem. So, but let's limit to 130 and see if we can get that other guy here. And see if we can get that other guy. Yes, we can. Okay, nice. So we'll definitely go with Stillman here, because I don't know too much about Frederick Sagan. But let's go with Bryant Stillman. He's also 19 years old, but if he's a low lead, this would be a nice pick. He is a grinder, which is a bit strange, but could definitely be one of those 4th line kind of guys for us. So Stillman, welcome aboard. Low 6 as well, but he is a 66. That's a good starting point, but low 6 is not what I was hoping for again. So a couple of these guys are definitely fooling us because I think they're low leads and they end up being low 6s, but I'll still take it with Bryant Stillman. That's not bad. It's a solid starting point. Was there any steals before our selection? There was one. Unfortunately, we didn't see him. Dorian Wang, 65 overall, low lead at 20. If this guy was 18, that would be a lot better, but 20 years old and being only 65 is a bit low. But since he played in the United States, he probably... That's another good steal, actually, for San Jose in a way. So San Jose might be actually really good near the end of this franchise mode with their development. There is a medium lead offensive defenseman we apparently did not see in Rod Winther. So Minnesota getting a good pick there. He is 19 years old already, though, so he might not develop. But looks like this draft has some interesting picks in it, too. So I don't mind that. Anything else interesting in this round, or no? Does not look like it. All right. Let's simulate to our next pick here at 163. Hey, that's 100 plus my favorite numbers, so maybe that means it's going to be a good selection here. Let's see. Pin players. Yeah, we got Lawson and Doughty left. So we'll go with Doughty here, and we'll go with Lawson with our next selection. So I don't think Doughty's obviously low franchise. He's probably a low lead. He is 17 years old. This could be even a way worse than the low lead. It could be also like a low top 9 or something like that, but I'm hoping that this guy's at least a low lead. Has no strength, no weakness, but he kind of intrigues me right now. So, Jason Doughty, welcome aboard. He is a low lead 53. I, for some reason, did not see it because it didn't change over, but there he is. He's a left winger that shoots right, which is kind of interesting. So, he could shoot from his off wing, but he's another two-way forward. So, we are drafting a lot of defensively minded guys, but it kind of fits our bottom 6 roles a bit better because I'm not trying to replace anybody on that top line right now. Eventually, at some point, we might have to if first line and all those guys retire, but Jason Doughty's okay. He's also 17 years old only, so if he could get a lot of development within 1 year, he could be a really solid low lead steal. So there is that. Now let's simulate to our last pick of this draft, I think. No, we have 2 more picks still to make. We'll probably take the one guy that's supposed to go around 7, and then we'll pick somebody completely else, I guess, with the last selection. So yeah, Lawson here. He's listed as a gem. He's a low lead offensive defenseman. I think this is a nice little pickup. Is he going to develop into being that low lead offensive defenseman? We don't know. But the fact that he's a gem and he's supposed to go this late, I think it's going to be a good little selection. And then hopefully he's one of those low leads that get a lot of growth within 1 year. So Lawson, welcome aboard. 50 overall, so a pretty low starting point. But if he gets a lot of growth within 1 year, this guy is going to be good. If he gets that offensive awareness especially up there. Because I have seen offensive defensemen that don't really do much, but if this guy has good passing, good offensive awareness, good shooting, he could definitely be somebody good for us. But a little bit more of a project player, but still. I think this draft so far has been okay. There's been some interesting picks, but the low sixes are kind of up in the air, but I still will take it. Shelley, who just went to Pittsburgh, low lead in this 7th round, so that's a good steal for them. Remember the name Eddie Shelley if he's actually good in a few years. And bottom 6 enforcer going to the Leafs and Giftopolis. That's kind of funny. Any interesting other selections here? Lolite in Simard going to Colorado. DFD. Marcel Simard. Okay. Got to say it like a French guy. Say Tabernac as well while you're at it. Any other selections? No. Okay. Well, our last pick of this interesting draft. Is there any players that could still be elite here? Stan Alcock, but he's 20 years old. He's going to be a higher overall because he's 20, but try and see if there's anybody that could be interesting here. Saul Young. Don't see the first name Saul too often. Tyson Pyatt. To be honest, I'm not really seeing anybody that's going to be really that good here, so I might have to take a chance. Oh, there's Bill Breen, who might be a really good shooter, but a low 6. Trying to think of who I want to go with at the selection. I mean, we could use maybe some more right Ds, so maybe I want to take a chance on Saul Young, even though he's not supposed to get drafted. I think that's probably the play. Just because Alcock already being 20 isn't that intriguing to me. Lucic could be good, but he also looks like trash. Apparently a lot of Ds. So let's give a chance to good old Saul Young and hope that he's good. Low top 4, 49 overall. That might be the lowest overall I've seen in a while. God damn. 49 for a low 4. Well, this guy's a major project, but there is our draft. I would say it's kind of an up-in-the-air draft. I mean, I was expecting it to be maybe a bit better. But Reefers, I think, good safe first pick in that first round. Hansen, I was hoping would be a lowly, but only was a low 6. But he is a gem, so maybe he could outgrow that potential. Dunham is a pretty good steal with that medium elite potential. Stillman, I was hoping would be a low elite, was only a low 6 as well, but a good starting point in overall. Both Dunham and Stillman are both 19 now already. Doughty being a 17-year-old and having low elite potential, nice steal. Lawson is also a good steal. And then Young is not probably going to make it, but I'd say it's a pretty solid draft. Definitely some players could make it that don't have the best potential like those low 6s, but it will take some work. So now we got to get to this re-sign stage and see if we can maintain this roster for the most part. Like I said, we are probably going to be letting go still of Capaduca and some other guys probably on this roster, like Hurd. But for the most part, if we have the core intact, I think it won't hurt us that much next season. Got to make sure we actually get all these scouts back because there's still that delay. Let's see if we get them all back here. But our scouts, I'd say, have done a pretty good job in terms of finding ourselves some good steals for the most part. Like, I don't know if we've been drafting the best in this series, but at least early on our drafts were pretty good. We managed to grab ourselves Ristolainen. We've been able to get ourselves Stowitz, those guys. Like, those guys definitely are the core players of this team. And I hope that I could hold on to them until the end of the series or until they retire, for that matter. All right, so all our scouts are good. Let's see what we got to do in terms of the re-sign stage. How much money do we have to spend? $22 million. Yeah, see, we don't even have a lot of money to spend here this offseason. So by qualifying all our RFAs, we probably can't afford almost every UFA. There is a good one here. Getting rid of Hurd is actually not bad as well, because I completely forgot to mention in this episode, I mentioned last episode, but DeAndre Hunwick is ready to jump up as an NHL defenseman already, which is great. So he will be likely on our blue line to replace Hurd, and that will be very solid. Lee might be back in the AHL again. I'm not too sure exactly what I'll do with Lee, but we'll come to it when we get to that point. So let's first and foremost, I am going to free up some roster room. So I am going to let go of this RFA in Paris just to free up some roster space. Just because we need probably more younger guys into the lineup. So, and we are going to qualify all these RFAs because I don't want to just give them exactly what they're asking for right now. Which means Hennessy will be a pending UFA at the end of the season, but that's all right. Mathers still wants 2 ways, so we'll just give him it. Boom. All right, so in terms of unsigned, do I want to sign anybody unsigned? Hutton didn't get any growth. He could probably play in the AHL next year, to be honest. Dunham could probably also play in the AHL next year. Kopitz probably should play in the AHL next year as well. So if I am to sign all those guys, there's also this 70 overall in Corrado as a medium 9. But he's probably not. I don't know if he's AHL eligible or not. We'll come back to those guys in a second. I might have to let go of some AHL guys down here. I'm not going to sign Lemieux. He's a low 9. That's nothing to me. Same with Boynton, unfortunately. Turakov is a low 6. 63 at 21 is pretty bad, so Novoseltsev is a low 4. I think I'm not going to sign him either. Geisbers is a low 6. Not going to bring you back. I'm going to free up a lot of space down there. We are going to sign Jitnik as a medium 6 for sure. So we'll get him signed up. Watson as a defenseman. He is a right-hander. But Janicki has been a decent AHL defenseman, hasn't he? He is actually listed as a depth defenseman. I probably should hold on to him. Yeah, we'll hold on to Janicki, but I am going to let go of Watson here. Try and free up some AHL room. I might also let go of most of these 76 overall guys. Potentially, because I should sign a lot of these unsigned dudes that are 70 plus at least. So we will get Hutton in for the AHL. We will also get Dunham signed in for the AHL, who we just drafted. Since he's already 19, he's a 71. I think he's ready to make that jump already. We'll sign Kopitz already for the AHL too. And then we will probably... We'll probably sign Corrado as well, but I don't know if he's AHL eligible. That's the only thing. So we'll probably sign those 3 guys here. Give our AHL team maybe some more depth to it. And then hopefully accelerate their growth. Also, we'll sign Malkin for the AHL, I think, probably already. Let me just double check on this. Do I want him in? Is there any UFA goaltenders? There's Hobbs. We aren't going to sign Hobbs. Unfortunately, I know he's a great meme name, but unfortunately he doesn't need the contract. So Gianna Harakala, Mathers, and Malkin makes a lot more sense than Langlois. At this point, Langlois is just a depth goaltender, so we'll sign Malkin to his ELC as well. I think a lot of those guys could get a little bit more growth playing in the AHL than unsigned. So, and in the UFA department here, I think I am going to let go of some of these AHL guys that have been here a long time. So I am going to let go of... let me actually sign Hunwick here as well to his ELC. I'm trying to think of who I want to let go of. Might have to hold on to some of those guys. Let me go to the NHL first and foremost. So yeah, Capaduca for sure. I think he's gone. He's still, he's trying to get $7 million. So let's give a little salute to Jesus Capaduca, former Stanley Cup champion. And 475 points. I mean, that's not bad in 1,052 games with a second-round pick. Does have very good shooting, but doesn't score as much as I was hoping. Was a 30-goal scorer this year, though, at least, which is nice. He probably is going to score a 50-goal season on another team, I guess, but I got to let go of him. So salute to Jesus from France, if you did not remember that. Best of luck in free agency. So that's a little bit of a tough one, but it has to be done. I also think I'm going to let go of Mark Degg, potentially. He was in the AHL all last year. Do I want to bring him back? Probably not, because we already have a grinder on the 4th line. So yeah, I think I'm going to let go of Mark Degg as well. Former 6th round pick of ours. He was low elite when we drafted him, I think, as well at one point. But we are going to let him walk as well. So best of luck to Mark in free agency. And there's also Hurd that we probably let go of. I might want to hold on to Whitfield, but I feel like he's going to ask for too much. Yeah, he's still trying to get 8.5. So I think we might honestly lose Andrew Whitfield as well, which kind of sucks because he's become like a pretty solid offensive defenseman the last 2 years. Maybe actually last 3 years for that matter. So it does suck to lose this guy too, but I think it's okay to lose him. He's probably going to become a really good offensive defenseman, maybe win a North somewhere. But for right now, I don't think I could justify $8 million to him, especially with the money that we're going to need to spend next offseason and such. So I think I let go of him. I think I let go of Hurd as well, potentially. Like, Hurd was really good in the plus-minus department the last few years. Actually, in his entire career, for that matter. Playoffs has been a bit more of a mixed bag for him defensively, but I think we're going to let him walk as well. So, best of luck to Hurd in free agency. Actually, what are you asking for first and foremost? $6 million. That's a bit too much for an 80. Bit too much. Tulabov's actually the most important of these guys. And he's asking for right around the same as Hurd, too. So, 6.45 is a lot of money to give to somebody like him. The thing is, he has more organizational interest and all that, so I should be able to drop this down to like 5.725 for 5 years. So I think we'll do that for Tulipov, see if he'll accept that. It's a nice little contract. And like I said, I think I'm going to let go of Whitfield here as well. Let me actually take a look at our defense without them just in case. So we have Bell, Narena, Tulipov. We'd have Lee, Hunwick, and Mahalik. So yeah, we could probably afford to lose Whitfield, because Lee would get the actually chance to play in the lineup again next season. We could use Ackerstrom as depth. Ackerstrom showed that he's good defensively, so I think I am going to let go of Whitfield. But we'll come back to him in a little second and see if he'll accept, if Tulipov will accept first. Because Tulipov is important to get re-signed for the defensive core, I think. Looks like he probably accepted. Yep, I think he did based on those notifications. Yep, he did. Perfect. So $18 million. We could technically bring back Whitfield, but I don't think it's a must. These RFAs are going to cost us more money eventually. So, Andrew Whitfield, when we were drafted again? Let me see your stats. 3rd round pick, 67th overall. Best of luck in free agency, my man. And then these 3 guys, a little bit older AHLers, fringe NHLers. We could potentially bring some of them back as depth options, but I don't really think it's necessary. Yeah, I think I'm going to let them go for now. If I need depth options and they're still in free agency at the start of the season, we'll bring some back. But for right now, I'm going to let go of all 3 of them. Boom. All right. So I think we're pretty much good. We should have the cap space to re-sign all 3 of those RFAs, which is good. We got a lot of contract space. I think we're looking pretty good right now, which is good. So all those contracts are dealt with. Let's simulate to free agency. And obviously see what we're working with in cap space. Obviously, do we need a cap whale, though? Because if we need a cap whale, maybe I should re-sign one of those RFAs to at least some money. We probably don't need a cap whale with those RFAs, right? Yeah, probably not, because $18 million for 3 guys. Yeah, each get around, like, maybe $4 million or something. I don't even know. Yeah, we probably don't need any cap whales, which means I don't need to re-sign those RFAs to a cap whale contract. So I think we're probably good with that. Did we need any new coaches this offseason? I can't remember. No, we don't. Not in the NHL, at least. AHL-wise, we could use an associate. So let's find ourselves an AHL associate coach at least. So that way the AHL team could get some more growth, hopefully. Let's see. AHL associate. Is there anybody actually? Is this an AHL associate? Let's see. Maybe this guy. Richard Musel, 58%. Yeah, you know what? Let's go for Richard Musel as an AHL associate. And hopefully you can help teach the kids to play some good hockey, get them to the NHL at some point. So we'll go with that. And we don't need an AHL goalie coach yet, just because I might reorganize the coaching staff a bit. To start the year, we have our scouts. Trying to think if there's anything we else need to do before we get to simulating to the start of the season. I don't think so. Technically, I could do more off-season focus stuff and all that so people don't drop as fast, but I feel like that takes too much time right now. So let's simulate to that start of next season and get ourselves situated for another year. Because I don't think this team needs to be training too much this offseason, especially after a long playoff run again. Like, we kind of need to take the offseason approach where we kind of rest a bit more, maybe play some games of golf and stuff instead. So maybe that'll get the guys a little bit more situated and set up for the season with a lot more rest. All right, let me stop the sim here for a second and go back to the RFA, see what they're asking for at this stage. I don't think they were asking for too much, but I just always like to get them for a little bit cheaper than normal. So Delisle, 2.2, you got it. 2.2 is good for me. He already immediately accepts that. Hennessy, what do you want? 3075, you got that too. And Doig, what are you asking for? 145, nice, okay. So there you go, all the RFAs are dealt with. We have everybody signed we want. It's going to be really interesting to see what this team's looking like going into next year. I think it's probably going to be pretty similar to next year, but obviously defense probably a little bit weaker. Losing Capaduca, maybe a little bit weaker on the offensive depth scoring, but we still have that top line intact. And that's probably what matters the most right now with this team, is that top line. All right, let's see what we got here. So let's go to roster mode, see if there's anybody that needs to get sent down or called up. So in terms of goaltenders, we got Giunta and Harakala, of course. Mathers is very close to being an NHL goalie. He's actually listed as a backup. I know you guys can't see that. So, how many years does Harakala have left, out of curiosity? This is his last season before he becomes, I think, an RFA again, potentially. If he's a UFA at the end of the year, obviously Mathers could come in next season. But for right now, Mathers and Malkin will run the AHL. Defensively, Bell, Narena, Tulipov, Hunwick, Mahalik, Janicki, and Lee. Why is Lee a 73 again? Lee's overall dropped so much randomly. Do I want to use Janicki as depth, or do I want to use the other guy? Two-way, and Ackerstrom was defensive, right? I liked Ackerstrom's defensive play last year. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to call Ackerstrom back up, and Janicki can get sent down. And Lee obviously will be playing this season. From a right wing perspective, Staubitz, Hennessy, Doig, and Patrick. Oh yeah, the Enforcer. We're going to have the Enforcer potentially run into our fourth line. Doig would be third line. Hennessy would be in the top six. I don't mind that. I don't mind that if that's actually the case. All right. Left wing side of things, we got Kolarz, Delisle, Malak, and Lambert. Bure is also down there. We do need another depth forward up here, I think. So we might have to call up Bure. Centers, Ristolainen, Kim, Peterson, Cashman, and Heatley. All right. So in terms of our depth forward, we could use Corso potentially as a depth forward. He is 24 and only a 76. And we do have a lot of centers down there. Maybe it's time to give him a chance, just like we did Bure quite a few years ago. Bure is 30 years old at this point, so he's not going to develop much more. But, do I want to use a 30-year-old Bure as a depth option? He actually is listed as a depth forward, though, too. What about that other guy? He was listed as a other forward. I guess we'll go for Bure as our other depth option, to be honest. Yeah, I think that would be an okay thing to do. So we'll bring up the 30-year-old as a depth option. We'll go best lines in the AHL for the time being. And let's see what we're working with in terms of our lineup. So we want obviously... Oh, yeah, Hennessy will actually be third line still. Because Hennessy's usually the below Kim. Almost forgot about Kim playing right side. Doig's only a right winger, but he is a checking forward. So he should be okay to be a fourth liner in that sense. We could always move Cashman over to this center spot here. Malak obviously should be up. Patrick should be a fourth liner because he's an enforcer. Heatley could be either or. Cashman's a second line forward at this point. Goddamn. I don't know about having Doig and Patrick on the same line. I feel like that's too much Pims, but might be okay. Doig can't take face-offs. Patrick can't take face-offs. Because I was thinking of moving Heatley to the left side. I mean, we could scratch somebody like Patrick, but at the same time, I don't know about that. Lambert could play too in the lineup, hypothetically. But Patrick being a scratch, I don't think is a great idea. I wouldn't be opposed to playing this enforcer, but I don't know if it's a good idea for the penalty minutes. Because him and Doig probably would take a bit too much. Hennessy actually does shoot left. Maybe we could use Hennessy actually on this second line here. And then we could do something like this a little bit instead. Delisle down there, Malak down there, and then we could go back to Doig up there. Something like that instead. Like, we don't even need to ask Hennessy if he'll play left wing. I could just play him as a left winger because he shoots left. That might be a better option. That might be a better option just to help out with the ice time a bit. And then from a defensive standpoint, Bell, Mahalik, Tulipov, Narena, Hunwick, and Lee. I forgot Hunwick's going to be playing in the lineup. which is good. Yeah, that's actually probably the way I would run that defensive core. Lee would be okay with his ice time since he's getting back into full time. I know he's a 73 right now, but he should be okay later in the season. So that's good. I think that's what I would run it with. And obviously, power play looks pretty solid. Chemistry doesn't really look the best on paper right now, but I don't know if there's anything I would change about it. Right on that first unit. We probably should put another defenseman on one of these power plays. Like if I took, who should I take off this power play? Probably nobody almost, but I could give like, let's see, Tulipov some power play time potentially, or Hunwick some power play time. I don't really know. But just to kind of give at second unit at least another defenseman, so it's not all forwards. Because right now there's like -5s on some of the units, which is a bit scary. So, and then penalty kill looking pretty solid, yeah. So the power play doesn't look the best in chemistry right now. We could always readjust that. In terms of AHL, the only one scratch is Boris Malkin, so we don't even have that much depth into our AHL team. So we could re-sign some former players if they're still in free agency just to give our AHL team more depth. But we do have some younger guys making their debuts this year down there. Corrado, Dunham, of course. Dackel's 22. Kopitz would be making his debut. Zhitnik would be making his debut. So we are starting to get a lot more AHL presence down there. Yeah, we probably should sign some more forwards for the AHL team because I don't want to use Hutton as a as an offensive player. He should be playing back here and taking somebody like, I don't know, DeVoe out of the lineup, or Tuomainen, for instance. So we definitely should sign another former guy on the offensive side of things in free agency in the next episode. So I think that's good for that. Let me go to free agency actually and see if there's any former players that we could bring in for that AHL team still available. And then that will probably be good for this episode at this point in time. Let's just see. Any former guys. We're looking for those 76 overall guys that we just let go of, basically. We could bring one of them back. That would be a good idea. Novikov. Why do I recognize Novikov? What team was he with? New York Islanders. That's probably why. I honestly don't even know. Let's see. Looking for former players. I wish there was an easy way to find former players, but there isn't. 76 is not this guy. This isn't the former Peterson, right? No, that's a different one. Trying to find those guys I literally just like go of if possible. Can't beat a lot of 76s, so this is kind of tough to find these former guys. But if we could find at least one of them, that way we don't play that low lead as a forward, because I don't really want to stunt his growth that way. There we go. There's the former guy, Skylar Peterson. There you go. So we'll sign him back up for the AHL team. And we could literally just put him onto that fourth line and then move that defenseman to his defensive spot. So I was going to do this in the next episode, but might as well do it already while we're at it. But yeah, I think our forward group looks pretty good, all things considered. So we need to go to the AHL. We will go to offense for a second here and take out Hutton. And we'll go to the left wing and just put in Peterson there. And then we'll go back to defense. And I guess we'll probably take out Sagans. Listen, actually is a depth defenseman, so he could actually play almost at the NHL level. We'll probably take out Elliot DeVoe, because at this point he's not much of anything. And we'll get Hutton into the spot. Nice, okay. Hutton could go to the top pairing. Sagan could go down. Doesn't really matter too much at this point. Yeah, this HL team should be pretty good too, based on the amount of talent. Let's actually take a look at potentials down here. See who should be where. So Zhitnik should be higher in the lineup. The rest of that should be pretty much good regardless. Cooper's only a low 9. Ashton probably should be higher than Dackel, I think. Yeah. And then Comrie was medium elite. Kopitz is a low elite. Corso is the oldest of the bunch. So Corso probably third line. Kopitz top line. Comrie second line. Something like that could work. Yeah, I think that definitely helps prioritize our potential a little bit better down there. So I'm not too sure if I'm sold on our team's chemistry. That's the one thing I'm a little bit worried on this season. Like, the chemistry is pretty mid in terms of 5-on-5. Power play, it's not the best, to be honest. So maybe we look at changing our coach. I'm not too sure. But our coach last season got us far in the playoffs, so maybe it doesn't even matter. Penalty kill looks okay the way it is. Let's see what the scheme fit is right now with the current coach. Just in case you guys want me to make any coaching adjustments. I don't even think we need to be honest. Because like I said, Baines has been a pretty solid coach of ours. But he's a 58% team fit, which is a little bit on the lower end of things. Like, I don't think we're going to win a ton of games with that. He actually wasn't our head coach last season. Or is it just glitched out? I think it's just not even counting his regular season stats in the screen anymore. It just shows his playoff stats with us. Because he was our coach last year. Did win us the Stanley Cup as well. So I don't even know about getting rid of Baines, but I could look at a different coaching option potentially. What's that current coach fit? He's a forward coach. Okay. Let's just see if there's any other options out there. There's Franco, 54. 64% with this physical coach in Cohane Holland. Those guys would definitely make us assimilate probably too bad though. Yes, they're only B coaches. I think we got to run with the current coaching staff that we have, probably. Even if that means our power play doesn't have the best chemistry in the world. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the season simulation for 2039-40 already. We'll see if this team makes it back to the playoffs. I think we definitely should. We'll also just take a look at where Capaduca and those guys signed in the next episode too, if you guys could remind me. Because I am kind of curious on how much money they end up getting paid by their teams and if they joined any former players of ours. And yeah, hopefully it's another good season ahead for this team. Like I said, I think we definitely make it to the playoffs. Obviously not too sure on how long for, but I think the one weakness we have is maybe our defensive core dropping a little bit. But I think having Hunwick jump to the NHL almost made our defense a little bit stronger because he could end up growing into a top 4 defenseman before the end of the season. So think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.